Welcome to Public Power Underground, Northwest Public Power's premier weekly infotainment program that covers Northwest Public Power and public power adjacent news from a power department's perspective. So hey, public power people, after taking a week off to rejuvenate, we're back in season 2 of Public Power Underground and ready to catch up on the news. On today's show, we'll get an update on Northwest power markets on Erin Reports, talk about Colstrip arbitration and litigation with Clearing Up's Steve Ernst, learn about electric powered tractors with Forth's Erin Galiger, debrief with NRU's Megan Stratman about all things policy, the Northwest, and as always, cover more public power and public power adjacent news on Public Power Desktop. I'm the voice of the Underground and Economic Development Manager for Clatskanie PUD, Brian Fawcett.
I'm Paul Dockery, the manager of the Power Department and co-host of Public Power Underground.
This is Erin Galiger, the star of Erin Reports, a co-star of Public Power Underground and financial analyst for Clatskanie PUD.
I'm Ian Bledsoe, current power analyst and what passes for a co-star around here.
Okay, we're starting this week, like most weeks, checking in on power market indicators in the Northwest with our first segment, Erin Reports.
All right, let's lean in. This is Erin Reports, where we try to get up to speed on Northwest market indicators for May 13th, 2021. I'm Erin Galiger, and I've got your market update for the week. April-September flows at the Dalles are expected to be at 84% of normal, and the outflow at the Dalles peaked over the past week at 241.6 kcfs on May 11th at 1500 hours. Midday elevation at Grand Coulee Dam on May 12th was 1269.70, and peak outflow this past week came this morning, May 13th, at 159.3 kcfs at 0800 hours. Checking on snow in the region using Entergy's aggregation of basin data, the snow water equivalent for BC Hydro Generation Basin is 110.48% of normal, for Mid-C 82.27%, and aggregating all the snow in the Columbia River Basin that'll flow through the Bonneville Dam, they estimate there is a 94.48% of normal snow blanket. Spot market power in the Northwest for delivery May 13th is at $41, with gas at $2.78 per MMBTU, translating to a spark spread of 21.54 and a heat rate of 16 grand. In term markets, BOM for Mid-C is now at $36.11 per megawatt hour. Mid-C power for Q3 2021 has rocketed from last reported 2 weeks ago around here at $115.75 and is now at $150, with Sumas gas at $3.71, translating to a heat rate of 41,300. In bond markets, one California public utility district issued 5,745,000 in wastewater revenue refunding bonds with maturities due between 2021 and 2031 and average interest rates of 3.73% and yields of 60 bips. Taking a look at fish counts for the adult spring Chinook this week, 3,713 Chinook passed through the Bonneville Dam yesterday, a 1280 count up from last time reported here 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. Spending a beat at Bonneville's Balancing Authority. Peak load this past week was 6,965 last Friday, May 7th at 9 in the a.m. During loads, peak hydrogen was at 8,232, wind gen was at 2,283 megawatts, conventional units were at 183, and nuclear was at 953. This week at NOAA climate forecast, the 6 to 10 day outlook has tempered the region with areas with a 33 to 50% chance of being below normal heading northwest, a 33 to 70% chance of being above as you head east, and some areas in between in the normal range. Precipitation in the region has a 33 to 50% chance of being below normal in our neck of the woods, with areas north and south in the normal range and slight ranges of above normal precip. Their 90-day report again shows likelihood of a 33 to 60% chance of below normal precip. And that's all we've got for this update. Back to you, Brian.
A few things to comment on, I think, this week, because there was some interesting items you pointed out. The water at the Dalles, that power or the water flow forecast, the volume forecast for April to September has steadily declined. Any commentary, Ian, other than steadily?
Erin said 84%, but it appears to have deteriorated another 1% in the last day.
Yep, yeah, in the last couple hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Not great. That translates to the snow is deteriorated as well. Do you think this is our last reporting of snow? Is it time to transition away? The weather in Kalispell, Montana indicates that we're probably in, the melt-off area. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, it's definitely fresh at season. Hover over some of those upper Canada snow sites.
Okay, remember this is
Yeah.
an audio medium. We're currently looking at NOAA's snow map, and the snow in Upper Canada is still fairly, I mean, it's near its peak. It hasn't really started to fall off yet.
Yeah, that's from the water supply debrief. The Cascades down there, there's no snow in the Cascades of Oregon. Washington still has a decent amount. Idaho, North Idaho is a little bit. Southern Idaho, also nothing. So Oregon and Southern Idaho is nothing, but north of that, there's still some left.
Yeah. The other commentary I had was that CGS came off as expected on May 8th. Remember 2 weeks ago, I searched for that date, and here it is. It was on May 8th. It actually declined on schedule. Good job by you. Good job by you, Energy Northwest. Good job by you.
That's a good callback right there.
Yeah, it's, only you and I get that joke. Okay. Yep. Anything else we should comment on from Erin Reports? Are we good?
Prices are going crazy. I think
what's going crazy?
Keep watching prices.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about that a little bit later in the podcast? Prices?
I don't think we're going to talk about the July and August prices. I think we may mention the gas disruptions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll move on. Moving on.
All right. Next up is our weekly walkthrough Northwest Public Power and Public Power adjacent news in a segment we like to call Public Power Desktop.
Way to not read ahead even a sentence, Brian, because that story is right now. After a series of gas panic buying, the Colonial Pipeline said yesterday that it has begun to restart operations after the cyberattack linked to a criminal gang known as Darkside, not to be confused with the Superman supervillain. Well, earlier this week, smaller segments of the pipeline system were restarted through manual operations, delivering 41 million gallons of fuel to various places. Colonial Pipeline Company, operator of the 5,500-mile network of pipes, noted a steady foot on the gas pedal as restoration to the pipe's full capacity of taking 100 million gallons of fuel a day from Texas to New Jersey will take some time. Meanwhile, gas prices have climbed to a U.S. average above $3 a gallon for the first time in 6.5 years, as many gas stations around the East Coast and elsewhere have run out or almost entirely run out of fuel. As Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said, hoarding does not make things better. For more, visit the Wall Street Journal for the Colonial Pipeline restarts operations after cyber attack article by Colin Eaton.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to cut that out. We've been very explicitly in the notes of this that we are not going to mention anything about EVs, and we are not going to make fun of people. Okay.
And why did cut my pun, Ian?
This is keys. No, he used the pun. Foot on the gas.
He didn't say that's gas.
I looked at it. I was like, I don't understand that, so I'm not going to say it. What's gas? Hoarding does not make things better. That's gas.
Yeah, like that's gas. Like that means like that's fire. That's lit.
Oh,
that's spot on.
Never said that phrase in my life, so
neither have I. I didn't get it when she wrote it.
Oh my gosh, I was secretly hoping you'd say it, and you'd say it in a really weird way, and I could make fun of you for it afterwards.
Like a question? That's gas?
Yeah.
I'm very aware of the stupid things you put in the things for me to read, Erin. So thank you for that. I think you also know how much I hate puns, so I'm always on the lookout for.
I'm really curious. This Colonial Pipeline operator noted a steady foot on the gas pedal as restoration. Was that an Erin pun, or was that a pun from the person that got quoted in the article?
That wasn't me.
Okay. Next article. Where am I going next?
Editor of Clearing Up and newest friend of the Underground, Steve Ernst, dropped in to get up to speed on litigation and arbitration over the future of the Colstrip power plant.
Hey, Steve, welcome to Public Power Underground.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I have been on vacation for the past week. I took a wonderful break. We took a break on Public Power Underground. Now we're back, and I'm trying to catch up on emails and the news. News. There's a lot. Both.
There's a lot, indeed.
So I'm calling you to wonder, in 200 words or less, what's the news?
Well, the big news last week was that we got a peek into the thinking of the Colstrip ownership group and how they might be thinking about the future of the coal-fired power plant in Montana. Pacific Northwest Utilities are asking an arbitrator to see if they can close the plant, either one or both units of the plant, with just a simple majority. Talon Energy, the owner-operator, countered with a lawsuit of their own, saying that the four Pacific Northwest Utilities want it closed by 2025 and want to move arbitration to Montana and apply Montana state law. This is all sort of in the wake of Montana enacting two new state laws aimed right at Colstrip, one that would allow the Montana Attorney General to fine the operators who don't pay for maintenance on the plant, and two, it would move arbitration to Montana, just like Talon's asking for. Was that 200 words?
I think that was pretty close to 200 words.
Oh, good.
I'm going to ask for some clarification. Not a lawyer, did not take the LSATs, so out of my depth here. So it sounds like one party is just seeking arbitration and there is another lawsuit, two separate things.
Yes. And this all sort of reverts back to the Colstrip, the 50-year-old contract that governs the Colstrip power plant. And litigation here is probably, it was inevitable once Washington and Oregon started to want to decarbonize their utilities portfolios. And Montana has a huge coal reserve that they'd like to exploit. So as you know, Puget and Avista have to be out of coal by 2025. Portland and Pacific Core have a little bit longer runway. They can, I think, get out, and I think Pacific Core is 2030 and PGE is 2035 to get out, to stop billing for coal in their state rates. So this all is going to come down to just a really ugly contract dispute, essentially.
And you mentioned, so there's a 50-year-old contract. Arbitration is in that contract. There is some structure of arbitration.
Yeah, the contract, we did a piece on this a couple months ago. The contract allows for arbitration in Spokane.
Okay.
And what Talon and Montana want to do is move that to Montana. And Talon also, in reading their lawsuit, would like to sort of throw out pieces of the contract, but lean on other pieces. The contract itself doesn't really address how Colstrip would close. It talks about until it can't generate electricity under prudent utility practices, which is pretty vague. So it's not really clear exactly how they'd close it, although there's another part of the contract that talks about if one of the owners don't want to pay for maintenance, then their shares could slide to the other owners that do. So you could see where there might be an avenue there for Talon and Northwestern to pick up Colstrip that way.
Yeah, it seems like the end of contracts is always the hardest part, because you can never envision 50 years from now what sort of environment you're going to be in and what sort of like disentangling mechanisms you need to incorporate into a commercial agreement. There's the arbitration and there's the litigation. I believe I read in the article, the litigation is in the U.S. district courts.
Yes, well, the Pacific Northwest owners sued in federal court there in Montana to try to block the state laws that were just signed last week.
Okay.
They're declaring them that they think they're unconstitutional because they would essentially void parts of the 50-year-old contract.
Okay. So the litigation in the district courts is in some ways to prevent the arbitration from moving to Montana. Did I hear you correctly that part of the Montana law was moving the arbitration point?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to move. They want everything to apply in Montana under Montana state law.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of news. Also a very deep level of like contract mechanisms you had to talk to some people about. So thank you for your reporting, and thanks for getting me caught up on the news.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Is there anything you're working on this week that you'd want to promote, or not, maybe not this week, but for a future?
Well, this week we're working on a piece about Seattle City Light relicensing their Skagit River projects to possibly include some fish passage. And in keeping with the theme of Puget Sound Energy, they've released an RFP for resources to help meet their needs over the next 2 or 3 years. So we'll have a story on that too.
That sounds great. I'm really honored you're willing to come on the underground and talk about this. I really value your reporting and having somebody who can dig deep into these topics. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Paul. Anytime.
Great. Now back to the underground for news.
Fitch Ratings issued a rating action commentary related to bonds secured by payments from BPA. Several revenue refunding bonds issued by Energy Northwest Washington and secured by BPA payments were assigned a AA rating. These borrowings included $715,790,000 of revenue refunding bonds for Columbia Generating Station capital projects bond refinancing and debt issuance costs funding. These bonds are scheduled to price on May 12th. Oh, they have priced. Fitch Ratings also affirmed BPA's AA- issuer default rating, which indicates stable credit quality and in repayment of all fixed obligations. Finally, Fitch Ratings affirmed the AA debt rating assigned to several previously issued bonds secured by BPA payments totaling $6,195,800,000. These bonds include certain features of BPA's required priority for these bonds ahead of its own federal debt, including the U.S. Treasury and federal appropriations debt. For more, search for Fitch Ratings, Energy Northwest Electric Revenue Refunding Bonds, and select the link from May 4th, 2021. That takes us right into our next lead, which is that BPA hosted the 2021 Q2 quarterly business review on May 11th. The presentation started with a series of shout outs, including John Hairston's absence due to his time away to be with his children graduating this week. Congrats! Further introduction was provided by the newly appointed COO of BPA, Joel Cook. Lastly, BPA CFO Michelle Maneri has been recruited for the Office of Electricity Detail with the Department of Energy. Wow. She will start on May 23rd as Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Energy Resilience Division. Very well deserved. Michelle provided a brief overview of agency net revenues, forecast $138 million higher than rate case, highlighting operating revenues extensively above rate case due largely to trading floor sales with much higher than expected prices and lower non-cash expenses. Maneri noted this is an important graphic to watch as we head into a very dry summer. Transmission revenues are lower than rate case due to continued non-renewals of point-to-point and fiber contracts, and financial reserves are strong. Agency capital expenditures are down as project focus has shifted to core projects, and core continues to work hard to ramp up project execution. 2 weeks is a long time to get used to reading again. The technical workshop will be May 18th. For more, visit bpa.gov.
I just have one comment. 192 words. Nice work, Erin. Kept it under the 200.
I've been counting.
That was less than 200 words.
Yep.
Well,
I need to reduce my
both of them.
cap. I need to reduce my cap. I don't know.
She read 2 in a row, so it was a bit misleading.
Okay. Fair enough. Where are we going next?
Where did we learn about this 200-word cap? Because I had never heard this.
Well, it's because you don't listen to the podcast.
It's all right. I don't read the stuff in the comments about what not to say, so we all have our things.
Now I got to edit twice. I got to edit the first reference to that. Now I got to edit the second reference to that.
Hey, I didn't say what it was.
Okay. I may leave it both in. Let's be honest. See how ambitious I am. What's next?
Oh, it's me. A fourth program manager and similarly enthusiastic transportation electrification advocate, Erin Galiger, joined us to promote their electric tractor pilot program.
Hey, Erin, welcome to Public Power Underground.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
I love the story about e-tractors. We found it, I think, everywhere that we find our news. And I wanted to get you on to talk about it. So in 200 words or less, what's going on with e-tractors?
I'll try to stay in 200 words. Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate being here. Electric tractors are really exciting, and they're really new. I compare this to being like 2011 of electric vehicles. There's only a few models out there. We just delivered our first model to Central Point, Oregon, at Rested Gate Farm. This is a program and a partnership between Fourth, Sustainable Northwest, Y East, RC&D, and BEF. And our goal is to collect data try to rotate electric tractors through a couple different farms to see what are the best use cases. Hopefully I'm within 200 words there.
That was great. It's like a 40 horsepower tractor. This isn't a big combine or anything like that. It's a smaller workaround tractor. Is that right? But all the
Right.
3-point hitch worked, the bucket worked. It looks like you got all the ancillary equipment you could possibly want.
Yeah, absolutely. So the tractors that are available right now are all on the smaller scale, 30 horsepower, 40 horsepower. There's a couple other ones coming to market that are around that 70 horsepower. So we're hoping just to build demand and showcase what is available right now. All the tractors are also coming from more startup companies, less of the John Deere so far.
Okay. Do you think the future of this gets into the bigger scale tractors?
Yeah.
You think, because for me, this technology works really well for tractors, an electric motor, really good torque curve. At low speeds, you have a lot of power.
Absolutely. I think this is just the start, and all the other big manufacturers have made commitments. They want to go electric. They're investigating into it. I think that this program is a way to show that there's major demand. There's major demand in Oregon for electric transportation. And we're already noticing that, yeah, the 3-point hitch works. You still have the auxiliary hydraulics. We're hoping that farmers that are participating in this program don't have to compromise at all when they go electric.
Yeah, I love it. 2 things I wanted to hit on. First, you mentioned in your article, and this is one of my pitches, you're just plugging into a welding outlet. All the farms, they got welding outlets. You know, that's $240. That's all you need to charge. Not like you need special charging infrastructure, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for this program, we just showed up with the cord to charge it and found the welding outlet. We also found an RV outlet at their other site, and no additional infrastructure was needed. And we are expecting that to be the case for many other farms that have their own shops and are doing a lot of work there. So yeah, it's really nice to know that there's no additional infrastructure needs for a program like this.
One of my personal goals and missions is to normalize an outlet for electric vehicle charging. So thank you for helping me on that mission.
Absolutely.
Second thing, I have a nephew who's considering, he's in early high school and is considering going to a vocational school for diesel mechanics. And I'm trying to pitch him on don't go study diesel mechanics. And also his grandmother, my mother, is also advocating for go study electric motors and electrical vehicles and electrical tractors. Anything there you're working on? How do we convince these kids that, you know, electric motors are the path forward?
Yeah, great question. One of the barriers that we're anticipating with electric tractors is this lack of workforce that is able to work on them. So we're working with a couple of local community colleges to hopefully develop some curriculum. One of our programs is taking place in Crook County with electric tractors, and they're bringing in the local high schools and 4-H clubs to start getting experience with these new electric tractors. We're trying to hopefully build new workforce within Oregon around this technology. Because I know a lot of farmers like to take care of their own tractors. We're hoping we can build some knowledge base here. Definitely encourage your nephew to start looking at electric tractors. Absolutely.
And I love the, you know, targeting 4-H, targeting community colleges, targeting FFA programs to let them know, hey, this is a way to get into a market early. And, you know, if you get into a market early, you can just rocket up the pay scale. Let's get you paid. Let's get you paid, Jay. Come on.
Definitely. And I think this is going to bridge that urban-rural divide. I think that folks who've been living in rural areas and thought EVs aren't for me, maybe electric tractors will get them into electric transportation. I think a lot of the farmers who we delivered this tractor to is their first time experiencing that torque of an electric motor. And you could just see it on their face. The joy was there. I think we've got some people who are convinced that when the electric F-150 comes out, convinced we're going to go for it.
Yeah. So I have taken Jay for a ride in an electric vehicle. I think he now appreciates the difference in torque between a traditional combustion engine and an electric motor. I think we're on the path. Thank you for coming on, Erin. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Appreciate
it.
all the workforce does as well. All your webinars are wonderful and outstanding. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Now back to the underground for news.
A lot of energy from Erin. Really great guest. I hope she's willing to come back. It'd be great to have her again. But
Paul, I know you're from Ohio, so did you find out about the capabilities of electric tractors in the tractor pull?
No, I didn't ask about tractor pulls and whether there's a special class for electric tractors. That would be a great way actually to maybe promote the vehicles or the tractors. I don't know.
It's my assumption that that's a big thing in Ohio. Am I right?
I've been to tractor pulls for sure.
Okay.
The bigger thing was the combine demolition derby. I found that that was the most innovative thing when I was a child. It wasn't just a demo derby; it was a combine demo derby, which I found fascinating. It was great.
I'm gonna have to YouTube that this afternoon.
Combine demolition derby.
Oh my gosh.
Defiance County Fairgrounds.
I have a story for post. I have a story for post this.
Okay, you can't. Okay, it's just you can't use the chat.
Sorry.
It's so distracting. I can't use. You guys can't be using the chat while we're doing this. I got flashing lights. I'm OCD. There's chat here. It's so disruptive for me. Who's next? We can't be wasting time. We got so much content this week.
The person who initiated the chat is next, and that is me. So Ford recently announced its first foray into the electric truck market. The F-150 Lightning will be announced on Monday, or on May 19th, not a Monday, at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you'd like to get more information or add this momentous event to your calendar, head over to their countdown website.
You can find it just by Googling F-150 Lightning. That's all I did.
All right, I've got a special prize for anybody who can name another vehicle that shares a name with a World War II military aircraft.
Other than the Mustang, you mean?
There's one. Paul gets a special prize.
What's the prize? This is weird.
It's a special prize, Erin.
Yeah, I don't know.
have no idea.
If there's no answer, it's not great content. What's the answer, Ian?
That you just gave an answer. A Mustang is one.
Yeah. Okay, what's the
What
other
are
one?
the others?
There's a Thundercat, Spitfire, Thunderbolt. But those are the ones I know of.
So was the Lightning a World War II airplane? What's the connection here?
Yeah. No, it's just I don't know why there are so many cars named after World War II.
Wait a minute.
Underground fashion.
Was an F-150 was Lightning the name of a World War II plane? Is my core question. Okay.
Yes,
that's the link. Thank you for the linking up on that one. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I did say another.
You
car
did.
Named
you
after
did.
it. Okay.
I was not aware that the Lightning was one.
Yeah.
And I knew the
Yeah,
I was
Mustang
trying to
was.
be brief
prizes.
and not over-explain it, but Paul wins a special prize.
And Ian wins 3.
I will
Three
say the
smaller
Lightning
special
is an awesome name for an EV truck. That's good marketing right there.
Yeah, maybe a little too on the nose. Like it's like, oh, that didn't take much creativity. You know what I mean? It's like maybe it's a little extra because I did not realize that there was a World War II plane called the Lightning, and so maybe it's that connection to the Mustang gives it a little bit more credit. So thank you for making that connection, Ian. Otherwise, I just thought like, oh, that's cheap and Lightning.
This is the new super
Lightning.
fast EV
Same.
Ford car.
Like naming a outlet plug pass. It's like that's kind of cheap and derivative, you know. Okay, what's up? Are you next, Guillory?
I am. NRU's Rates and Policy Director, friend of the Underground, and Public Power Underground's special, all the topics she's willing to talk to us about, correspondent Megan Stratman agreed to update the Underground on the status of the rate case and provide her thoughts on the post-2028 provider of choice process.
Hey, Megan, welcome back to Public Power Underground.
Thanks, Paul.
It is great to have you back. I have been on vacation, had a great vacation. The kids loved being in the Oregon coast.
Oh, I love the Oregon coast. It's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. I disconnected though, except for a couple SLICE meetings. We can talk about my issues with disconnecting from SLICE meetings at some other date.
Okay.
But I disconnected from a lot of the other stuff. What's going on with the rate settlement? Can you give me like some debrief on what's going on in the region?
Yeah, so I can bring you up to speed on where we are. So the proposed rate settlement has had basically no objections to it. So that is now going to be in front of the administrator. He'll be able to make a decision on that. That'll come out in the draft the draft record of decision, which will be out in late June. So the terms of the settlement, as you'll probably recall from before vacation, it's kind of a combination of the two settlement proposals that were presented by customers to Bonneville. So they combined what was called the narrow proposal and the comprehensive proposal, kind of took a bit from both. So from what's most important for us, which we've talked about actually before, is revenue financing. So that big one where in the initial proposal, Bonneville assumed $95 million of revenue financing for power. Under the proposed settlement, it's $40 million. Okay. So you're looking at hold everything else equal, just with that change, power rates, instead of being flat, no change compared to BP20, we're looking at on average a 2.5% rate decrease. Yeah, good news for all of us in the region who are struggling with economic recession issues. I know everyone's been having a really hard time due to the COVID pandemic and the recession and everything. And so let's just peel the layers back a minute here on what is driving that rate decrease, because that's something we've all been kind of wanting for. I don't think any of us expected to ever see a wholesale power rate decrease in our careers. But remember that one of the biggest components of the tier 1 rate overall on average is that credit of net secondary revenues. And we have seen that credit just plummet over the last decade because wholesale prices have just gone down and down and down, partly due to the increase of renewables and all the energy that they're bringing onto the system. But we're seeing the market start to flatten and actually start to go up. So if you have been looking at the forward price curves, which I'm sure you do as a Slice customer, you're seeing a pretty steep increase from what we've been seeing. Absolutely. So that helped bring up the secondary revenues credit, which then all else equal decreases the tier 1 rate. So because of that component, we were seeing the opportunity for a rate decrease. And we also have to recognize and give credit where credit is due. Bonneville has kept its expense costs flat compared to BP20 and then compared to BP18. So, when Elliot Mainzer was administrator, he talked a lot about bending the cost curve. We have to acknowledge Bonneville has bent the cost curve. That's not an easy thing to do, to absorb the impact of inflation. So those are two big things that help keep that rate increase lower. Bonneville, with up to $40 million of revenue financing, can use that to help with their overall financial health. But maybe even more importantly than the dollar amounts, is this commitment to having a comprehensive public process after the rate case ends to really talk about Bonneville's financial health. They have access to capital issues. We've talked about that before. They're looking at revenue financing as a piece to that puzzle. It may be an appropriate piece, but we need to see how all that fits together. And if power is revenue financing, how might that impact access to borrowing authority that's available to both power and transmission? So you immediately start to have power and transmission interbusiness line issues start popping up. So really looking forward to that process. It's going to be a challenging one for us to work through as a region, but really important. So good news, power rate increases. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, follow up. So part of the settlement discussion was around whether the revenue financing would be a surcharge or would be embedded in the rates. Where does the settlement proposal land on that?
So that's actually a really good question. I think it's just embedded in the rates.
Okay.
I think Bonneville felt that it would be too hard to do a surcharge. So just embedded in the rates is, to the best of my knowledge,
okay,
how that's going to flow through.
And this proposal, is it part of the rate case portal? Is it embedded? So I could go find it on there, and
you absolutely can
actually go through the components of it. Okay.
Yeah, and Bonneville they've done. Bonneville's usually really good at conveying information really clearly and concisely. So they've got a nice little matrix that shows like the proposed terms and how that's all going to factor there. Because the other couple of big items were transmission losses. So you'll recall the initial proposal was to have a capacity charge associated with delayed loss returns. Under the settlement that's proposed, that capacity charge would not be implemented. And we would all focus on getting to concurrent returns by BP 24. So those are kind of the two biggest parts of the settlement. On the transmission side, they actually, on average, got that rate decreased down to single digits. So high 9%, but better than the 11.5% on average transmission rate increase they're looking at. And part of that was due to a slight decrease in the amount of revenue financing for transmission. So they took $5 million off of it. So all in all, really representative of folks in the region working together to try to see what we can come together with as a region. So again, this next step in the process is the administrator will consider the proposed settlement. We'll see his response in the draft ROD later next month in June. Final rates come out in July. And I just have to say that the rate settlement does not lock down rates, okay? So it locks down these key components, but Bonneville is going to update its studies for its market price forecasts, its load forecasts. Those have been sources of change in the past. So we're using the best information we have today. Everything is subject to change, but it's looking really positive to have a rate decrease.
Yes, and we should know it's official, as you were saying, when the final ROD comes out in July.
Exactly.
And then that kicks all of my process off, where I got to translate a final ROD into actual retail rates that I got to convince my board to actually adopt. So yay, summer fun.
Well, and hey, hopefully it's going to be an easier conversation this time.
Yeah, we got to negotiate the conversation, because if Bonneville does some headline of, oh, we're decreasing energy rates, and then I have to be like, well, that is on an average basis, and the classified rates are likely to be increasing slightly because of the difference in load following products and slice products. That's going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah. That will be a really good social media post right there. I'm looking forward to your Instagram and Twitter accounts talking about the load flying product and the slice, non-slice products. Should be good.
Yeah, I have to come up with a meme format. Maybe you can help me out to figure out what's the right meme format for that. There's got to be one, right?
Well, so here's the way I think about it, Paul, is there's a big difference to me between wholesale power and retail power. And so if you look at when you go by from Shell or TransAlta or PowerX, one of the marketers, they sell based off of what the market is doing. So let's say last week I bought at $35. This week it's $30. I wouldn't expect Shell to be like, ooh, actually, we'll just keep selling it to you at 35, so you don't have to have a price decrease, because that's kind of awkward. To me, that's the way I look at the Bonneville. This is just one piece of the component of retail rates. For our members, Bonneville Power is somewhere between 40 to 60% of their retail rates. That's still a lot of other factors that come into setting your retail rates.
Yeah, and it's a process I enjoy. Interestingly, you enjoy Bonneville rate cases. I like the translation and communication of retail rates to our customers. It's my niche. I love it.
That's great.
Is there anything else in the region you'd want to highlight that's going on and think's interesting to chat about?
Oh, post 2028. Here we go. So this is one of the things that we've all been waiting for, looking forward to. Bonneville is committed to be the provider of choice. That is what they're calling this next set of contract discussions. So we're starting to really dive deep with Bonneville on key components of power rates construct. So we're going to start talking about system size and allocation. So today, in today's terminology, that's the tier one rate, the tier one system size and your contract high water mark, your rate period high water mark. For us as NRU, what's important is let's think outside the box, within the box of allocation, but outside the box of what we have today. So what we have today is system size is based off of 1937 critical water. That might be the right approach to use moving forward. There might be something else. Would it make sense to just set the system size at some amount instead of having it change every 2 years? There's pros and cons to all of those things, and that's what we want to start talking to Bonneville about. And then, of course, once you set the system size, you've got to figure out how to allocate that. For another thing that's really important for our members, and I think for many Bonneville customers, is integrating non-federal resources into their resource supply stack. So I think there's lots of opportunities for flexibility and creative thinking. So we're really excited to be working with Bonneville and other Bonneville customers on really exploring some options under there.
Yeah, the talking about portfolios that are going to occur in 2028 and beyond, I mean, really for power supply people, gets you really focused on the ways you can add flexibility into contracts and mechanisms and policies. Because one thing we are all certain of is we don't know what our portfolios will look like from 2028 until 2035. I don't know for sure when the end of the tenor of this agreement will end up being. And so trying to make sure that you have an ability to manage your portfolio with this large contract, which is the largest portion of our portfolio. Big deal. It's a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, like, think of what the future holds. Like, we've seen such amazing technological advancements in just the last 5 years in terms of green energy, rooftop solar, electric vehicle charging, all of those things. The future is going to be even more diverse and vast and exciting. And so how can we kind of future-proof these contracts so everyone can make sure they are responding to their local community needs and wants, and still be able to integrate a low-cost, affordable, carbon-free power supply that Bonneville provides to all preference customers who want it?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big undertaking.
Very big undertaking. I'm glad that you'll be in the room so we can have intelligent conversations and disagree respectfully.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty confident we can do that.
I am right there with you, Paul.
And we don't always have to disagree, Megan. We're really good at agreeing with each other. I really enjoy that part too.
Yes. You know, we can mix it up. We can agree and disagree. It'll be fun.
Different topics, different framing, different agreements or disagreements. Let's do it.
And that's what I love most about public power is we can all unite on certain topics, and on other topics, we know we're going to have differences, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah. And we just get to beat up Bonneville when we don't like it. I mean,
Yep, we always have that core component, don't we?
I do need to pivot away from that a little bit, because I do respect Bonneville's approach to this provider of choice negotiations. It seems like we are trying to partner on finding good solutions. I am an advocate, and my philosophy is product design and service design end up defining the value propositions for both the seller and the purchaser. So if we can work with Bonneville to define good products and services, it can be good for all of us, for both of us, for the family of public power. That's my philosophy.
Absolutely.
That's my pitch.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all had strong business partnerships with Bonneville for over 80 years in many cases. That says a lot, and we want to keep continuing that going forward.
Agreed. Anything else you want to pitch or promote? Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, all I have to say, Paul, is I'm glad you've already gotten your vacation in, because I'm not sure you're going to have much time to take another one this summer.
I am going to take so much vacation this summer. We all are, aren't we? We're all going to take, we should all take a bunch of vacation. Self-care is important. We have earned vacation. Yeah. Sorry, Mark, may have some periods where, we're going to have to negotiate some different work arrangements. I don't know. We're taking all the vacation.
Hey, maybe this should be our first, post 2028 conversation piece. Like, let's all decide, just take the month of August off, forever. Everyone just take the month of August off. And then there'll be no meetings to miss.
Yeah, maybe we should start that conversation, actually.
Let's do it.
I'm going to be very clear. I've already scheduled 50% of July as vacation. So I'm missing 50% of July.
Hey, well, let's do July and August. Just take 2 months off.
I think it doesn't have to be in perpetuity. I think we all need it this year. That's what I'm saying. This year, we all need to take July and August. My earpiece just fell out. So enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, your excitement is literally.
It's just like, this is the year. We all need it. Let's just all agree. Through 2021, right. July and August, we'll work. We'll do some work. We'll keep our operational commitments, but all the big projects, let's
press pause for a few months.
We've earned it. Thank you, Megan.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, Paul. Great chatting with you.
Back to the underground for news.
In true Public Power Underground fashion, we are again innovating with our first original article, written and reported by our very own Captain Ian Bledsoe. Ian, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Brian. April's issue of NWPPA's Bulletin magazine had an article by Christine Lindemulder titled Maintaining EPUD's Workplace Culture Through the Pandemic on page 18. The article briefly mentioned that they took pleasure in having the well-behaved dogs join them at work, with the office being closed to the public and only a small number of employees regularly in the building. These furry visitors could always be counted on to generate smiles and lift spirits. My spirit was just lifted reading about it, but I wanted to know more, so I called to talk with Emerald PUD's Human Resources Coordinator, Alicia Burgess. They said the practice of having dogs in the office started organically when, during a storm a few years ago, a key employee was required to be in the office during power restoration efforts, but had nobody to care for their dog. That employee was allowed to bring their dog to the office for the duration of the event, and it worked well. The dog was well behaved and brought an added benefit in the form of higher morale and cheer in a stressful time. Fast forward to the pandemic. Fewer people in the office and no customers meant fewer interactions. Several employees sought and were granted approval from department managers to bring their dogs into the office from time to time. More employees noticed the canine companions in the office and got approval to bring their dogs in. Alicia said that having a dog in your office provides a great incentive for other coworkers walking past to dive in for a quick chat and a head pat of the dog, of course. It's understood by staff that it's not something that can be done every day. And of course, only well-behaved dogs are allowed. Alicia said that in line with EPUD's value of empowerment, dog owners self-manage the amount of time and locations their dog accompany them in the office. It's unclear how long the practice will continue as restrictions relax and more employees are coming back into the office. The situation is being monitored and, of course, may change for a host of reasons down the road. Alicia specifically mentioned a fear that an employee would want the same allowance to bring their pet snake to work, a fear we both share.
There's more chatting going on, also distracting Guillory. Great reporting, Ian. I really like that you took the initiative to call up the HR coordinator yourself to get clarification. Hopefully other management team people at Clatskanie PUD are listening, and maybe we can follow Scott Coe's leadership. Go Scott Coe.
Go Scott Coe.
So in other news, before we move on, Commander, it would be the next step up for Captain Bledsoe.
Okay, but
According to
Lieutenant's
the
still
police
below,
rank.
right?
Yeah,
Lieutenant,
Captain, Commander, Deputy Chief.
Okay, but I think we need to get away from the grammar police, because he's elevated from grammar police to journalist. I mean, he's now a reporter. He's investigative reporter.
Well, I used to be the editor-in-chief of Rainier High School's newspaper, so reporter is like a demote from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you went from editor-in-chief of your local newspaper, you went down, and at some point you bottomed out on like just grammar police. That's the bottom, Ian. And now you're like elevating back up. Maybe someday you'll get to the level of an editor-in-chief again, but like you hit rock bottom with the grammar police. Did you not know that was rock bottom? Did you not know?
I thought having a blog on the internet is like the pinnacle of success.
Work with what you have. But you know what? Whatever the case, Ian, if you're going to continue to have very pointed, very specific articles like this, I think you have no word limit. You know, the words are your oyster.
Are you saying you support this concept, Erin?
I do. Yeah, I would love a follow-up. Appreciate that.
I mean, trolling Paul by, making my own story content without telling him or asking him about it. It's a joke that only works once.
And the thing, it didn't work because I was all in.
Yeah,
I was all in.
Ian kind of backfired.
Jokes on you.
Now you have to write articles every
showing
week.
Initiative,
yeah,
reaching out, communicating with people in the industry, making connections. I'm all in, man. I'm all in.
Awesome.
I think your next task, Ian, is to reach out to other people, and maybe even in other industries, find other successful examples of having pets in the workplace. So maybe this can be a recurring theme. Let's find the pets in the workplace. Let's bring those
during
to the front.
High school. I definitely made myself a phony press pass for the Columbian newspaper, and I actually used it to get a free movie ticket and reviewed a movie for our newspaper. So
bring that back.
This
This
is
Time to bring that back.
Really, I like this. I like where this is headed. You have a multimedia platform now for your investigative journalism.
you just take a piece of paper and write press on it and then stick it into the hat band of your fedora. And people are like, look out, this guy's coming through.
No, then they're like, oh, he's got a costume on for Halloween, but it's not Halloween. That's what they're thinking. Okay, we got to move on. We're at the end of our rope.
All right. Well, that troll job obviously backfired a little bit on Captain Bledsoe, but we will move on. Okay, that's all the news we're covering this week. Send us any news, jobs, questions, opinions, or corrections to Paul on Twitter @apowermanager. Or if you're a friend of the Underground, send any of us a note. Do we have anything coming up to preview or promote, Paul?
And thanks, Brian, for bringing that up. We have a great episode coming up next week. I'm actually very excited about it too. There's an Energy Northwest internship program with a very energetic person from Energy Northwest that's going to come talk to us about their program and getting adding people to the Northwest Public Power Pipeline, the talent pipeline from colleges. So very excited about that. But most importantly, we have an After Dark episode coming up where we're going to talk to Susan Ackerman. Susan Ackerman has announced her retirement, and we're asking all friends of the Underground and friends of Susan to send us questions for a mailbag. Make them witty, make them funny, make them, I don't know, public power adjacent or Northwest Public Power related. We're very excited for all of your interesting content. We're going to be very loose. Want to get Susan's opinion on a variety of topics while not getting fired. That's the ground. Like, we don't want to, that's the box we're trying to fit in. So we're very excited about it. We got a great cast of characters that are participating in the After Dark. It's going to be very loose, it's going to be very fun. That's coming up at the end of May, but we do need the mailbag. We need some mailbag questions from all of our friends. Anybody listening to this, send us in your questions.
All right, can't wait. I'm going to miss that one, but I will definitely be listening to it. So any friends of the Underground who are also friends of Susan, and that should be all of you, should brainstorm fun, entertaining, and Northwest Public Power or public power adjacent questions and send them to us before when?
Great clarification. Next Thursday. We need them by next Thursday so we can filter through and get them sent out and everybody can know what they're going to be doing. So next Thursday. This is our last warning or ask for mailbag questions before the deadline. So next week we're just going to promote it. We aren't going to ask for mailbag questions.
Got it. Thanks, Paul. Okay, we'll be back next week to talk about public power and public power adjacent news. To make sure you don't miss an episode, you can sign up for an unintrusive newsletter with links to all the ways to consume this fascinating content on Substack at publicpowerunderground.substack.com. Otherwise, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast app. That's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in.
We're all in this together, whatever we endeavor, yeah.
Public Power Underground is Northwest Public Power news from a power department's perspective, presented for entertainment purposes. It's written, edited, and produced by the power department. The views expressed here are our own and not the official views of Clatskanie PUD, nor of any person or organization affiliated or doing business with Clatskanie PUD, nor the organization of the guests also appearing on Public Power Underground. Neither Clatskanie PUD nor those appearing on Public Power Underground generate ad revenue from the episodes. Make Megan, Erin, and Steve feel better about their participation in this week's episode by sending them a note, text, or email with a thumbs up and telling them how much you enjoyed it. Do it for us, do it for them, and do it to make other people feel valued and appreciated. Public Power Underground for electric utility enthusiasts. Public Power Underground, it's worth to watch.